Welcome to Winterworks, episode 2 of the workshop number 4. So today we're going to be focusing on layering. It is fall, winter, and even in the summer I love to layer, but especially in winter with the colder weather, it's lovely to throw on different layers. And I always get warm too, so it's nice to be able to peel off a layer if you need to. So we have a few pieces to share with you, and I'm excited about them. First is the ice vest, and this is the original one that I made in a knit actually. So this is a medium knit with a little bit of lycra in it, cotton knit. It has a zipper on the shoulder, and it has sort of an unusual shape in that it's a little bit squared off. It's got a great armhole, and then I have these extras in the front. So I started making the same piece in this, and the shoulders have like a little, they just hang off the shoulders, so they give you a little bit of a shoulder, and just the whole point of it is just to hide the arm sky, if you will. It's like to hide just your shoulder, and this just gives you a little bit of room to move. And then if you look at the back, it's pretty straight. So it's hiding this back piece of your arm, which is really nice. And you can make this in any sort of t-shirt knit or fabric. And here I've got it in wool. We're going to be making it in even a stiffer wool in this one. So I love the shape of the back. It's really lovely, and you saw it photographed on Lily with so it has this really amazing shape to it. This piece can be worn over a dress, which we show. You can wear it with a skirt, you can wear it with a long sleeve t-shirt underneath it, you can wear it with pants. It's adorable, and you could make it a little longer according to your size. And because I'm small busted, you know, I can wear it. This will hang just on my waist. So if, you know, with the measurements and we have the different sizing in the pattern, you will make it a little bit longer to justify your bust, so that it's not hanging right on the top of your bust, but below your bust. So that's that. And we do have another option to put elastic in the front so that it will ruche in a little bit, so that it's not hanging. It will hang a little bit under your bust. For bigger busted women, I would suggest putting the elastic front in. It's really cute. So the ice vest is made in just a front and a back panel, and it is cut, you know, in one panel on the fold of the fabric, and then the back is as well. It's cut on the fold of the fabric. In this case, I had this really amazing tartan wool that I wanted to make it out of. I think it's really fabulous fabric. It does not feel good on the skin, so you'd have to wear something underneath. And I had scraps of this, so I didn't quite have enough. So I had to add on a piece to make up for my missing. It was too short, so I had to add on a strip. And in this fabric, just to do some fun, sort of unexpected things, I'm using some raw edges on this piece. Because it's so thick, I think it'll accommodate it. So and then you're going to need your binding. So the binding is easily placed on, and the construction of this is a little different, both in how you put the binding on, the zipper, and as well as how we're going to stitch on the sides. So they don't actually go outside they don't meet on the sides. We will do this sort of piece, so that almost creates this little flap, and you can see it here. See that flap? You will notice we included 2 notches on either side of the neckline here, and as well as on the sides of both along the shoulders of both the front and the back. And the reason for this is because that is where your seam is going to go. And we did that because one shoulder is going to have the zipper in, and we want to make sure that the remaining side is the same. I could have cut the pattern so that it would have had a shorter seam allowance on one side, but just for ease of saving paper, it's simple to trim that at a later point. So we have our 2 sides. Putting the zipper in the shoulder is so easy. So I have my little zipper. Your zipper should be slightly shorter than your shoulder. So where the zipper closes, that's going to sit right on the shoulder over here, just a little further in, and because it's going to be bound there. And then the end is going to sit just here's my end of my zipper. I actually cut my zipper and created a shorter zipper just to accommodate, this piece. I didn't want to cut up another zipper I had that was, this was just a little too long. So that's an easy way to do. You just clip it off, and I go back and forth on my stitching, and that way the zipper catches. We're also going to be sewing across there, so it's going to keep it it'll keep it intact. I don't know if you've seen this technique before in putting in a zipper. It's very simple. So you're going to place your shoulder where your zipper is going to go, your back and front, right sides together, and you're going to stitch along that seam allowance line that I mentioned before. But you're going to baste it with a wide stitch because we're just sewing that to secure where the zipper is going to go. This way, you're going to get this sort of effect where the zipper is hidden. So before you do that, you're going to finish the edges, the raw edges of both your shoulder seams where the zipper is going to go. So I've stitched my seam allowance as deep as that, as indicated, on the side where my zipper is going to go. I used a basting stitch. It's quite large, and it's in a straight line, so that we can pull it out. Do not back stitch on either end. You're going to rip that out once you have your zipper in place. So now I'm going to pin my zipper onto this garment. This is a slightly larger size for the garment. So I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to pin the zipper downward onto where I've just stitched. So I'm centering the zipper teeth along the seam allowance. And I'm making sure that my zipper head is not beyond my neckline, a little shorter of that. We can always trim off the end of the zipper if we need to. So I'm going to pin this, and then I'm going to show you how we stitch it on. So I've pinned my zipper in place. The zipper is facing down and it's on the wrong side of the garment. The teeth align with the basted seam that you have pre-done, and then I've pinned the zipper in place. Just as a check, you could hand baste the zipper in place just to make sure your placement is good. In this case, I just used my pins and I made sure that they're evenly on each side of that seam. And inserting this zipper using this method is going to pretty much hide the zipper teeth. There is another way, and I will show that to you as well. So here we're going to stitch using your zipper foot, or if you have a narrow enough zipper, This is a big enough zipper that I don't have to use it. Now, the closer you are to the teeth, the closer the teeth are going to be hidden when you're done on the outside of the garment. Oops. And you're going to back stitch on each end. I'm going to repeat on the other side. Make sure that my zip is straight. And I'm following my pins as a guide to where I'm sewing. So this is the end result. So now I'm going to use my unpicker, my seam ripper, my unpicker, that's what I call it. And you're going to carefully unpick the basting stitching. So I unpicked my basting, and that's what it's going to look like. Again, if you stitch closer to your zipper feet, then your closure will stay pretty much in line. Mine's a little loose because I stitched it a little further away. And your zipper is in place. Another option is to have the teeth show. And all you're going to do is put your fabric on the right side of the zipper. And you're going to stitch along there. I'm just going to pin this in place. And then your fabric is going to fold over, and you can either top stitch or leave it as it is. And then you're going to put your other shoulder seam, which is what these are, onto the other side. I'm going to pin that in place. And some people like the zipper to show more. So that's with your zipper, it's going to show. You could also press it so that it's together and then top stitch. But I think using the other method to hide it is a much easier and stable technique. Now that our zipper is in place, you may have a tail of your zipper, as I do, hanging out. You want to trim that off so that we are flush with the seam. And then we're going to leave this as is for the time being. So the next part of this is we're going to do the other shoulder seam, and you're simply going to stitch it along that notched line that I had mentioned before, and that will give you an even shoulder. So I stitched the other shoulder and I top stitched it. That is an optional, but I felt that because we've got so much activity going on the other shoulder, the top stitching it would just make it a little more even. So the next part of this is now we have our shoulders done. We have this, piece that is ready for binding. So the way we're going to do this is you're going to actually bind in one piece. This is the front. So you're going to bind the armhole and then the straight back and all the way around the back, and then back up to the other side. Before you do that, finish the front side edges, because we're going to turn them and have a little bit of a unique application there. So I have pre-made my binding. According to the directions, follow the suggested length of your binding. So if you look at the back of this garment, you'll see you can't see the binding. but when it's this way, you can see that I put the binding right inside. So I have bound my ice vest. It looks pretty good. It is very thick fabric, so I had a little struggle with the binding, but once it's pressed, it's going to lie nicely. I bind the shoulder where the zipper is, so you see I flap it over, and that's how it should be finished. It's very easy. Your zipper would end before over here because you're going to trim it off. On this version, I'm going to not have the extra ruffles in the front. So on this piece, I will show you how to do that. So on this one, all I'm going to do is bind the neckline. So the next piece of this is actually binding the front panel across the top here, and then we will do, and you finish the sides, and then we will put them in place. So my neck is bound, and I've hemmed the bottom of my panel here, which is this piece here. So we bound that. In my case, I just did a raw binding because I like the way this fabric looks. And now we're going to do the sides. And there's no sort of, this is a little complicated. You don't just put it inside out and stitch them together. So I tuck it in, it's marked on the pattern piece, and then you're going to stitch inside here. So I pinned it in place. So let's turn it inside out and see what it looks like. And you'll see it's a little awkward because there's an overflap. So now that it's inside out, you sew it down like that on each side, just flat. Not like a regular seam. You're not putting it right sides together. And there. And then we're going to stitch that. And then we are done with this piece. So the finished item is so adorable. This one, I would say, is very wintry. It's got so much shape in it. I chose not to do the ruffles. The zipper on the shoulder is perfect. The back hangs. It's almost blankety, this piece. It's really fun. But I see this over a black, maybe a black tulle skirt, or like a black satin skirt with a mesh black t-shirt underneath. How fun that would be. So that's this piece. And then if you want to add the ruffle, so we'll do that on this piece. This is a much finer wool. It's very soft. It's really beautiful. So the ruffles have 3 pieces, and the 3 pieces are a couple of rectangles. This one, you just pinch it and stitch almost a pleat, and then it's just going to hang down. This is almost like a little bib. There's a straight panel, and you can see where the neckline goes. So we're just going to pin that, actually, that one down first. That's a little off center, and it hangs straight down. This is just for fun, and I think it softens the piece. Then we're going to put our pleated piece on, and again around the neck. So I'm going to just remove those pins. Put that back. And these are, of course, optional. And then we even have a little ruffle piece. And this is going to go a little off center and almost to the shoulder. Almost to the shoulder. I'll put a pin in there. Once the 3 sort of embellishment pieces are in place, you're going to base stitch them in place around the front of the neckline. So that's how they look. And it just adds just a little dimension to the piece. Once it's basted, you're going to use your binding and you're going to bind your neckline. So you're going to stitch it right sides together and then turn it onto the wrong side. So it leaves your ruffles and little bib pieces intact. When you're stitching the binding down on the inside, you're going to lift these so you don't stitch those down. So you're actually going to stitch them underneath. Our next project today is the RHONDA dress, and this is really, really cute. It comes in, it's got a front panel, front center panel, and a back center panel. Then it's got two side panels for the front, and then two side panels for the back. And then we have one piece that goes down the side. So we're doing a lot of paneling. And of course pockets. So you've seen the image of this and I made this out of diamond textiles woven. It's such a lovely dress, and our neckline is really delicate with its unusual shape. And this is a great piece to wear with a little jacket over it. You could wear a long sleeve t-shirt underneath, and we showed it with our little ice vest. This would be cute. And pants. So this is our next make as part of the Winterworks series. But I have a little surprise for you because we've been working in a lot of wintry fabrics. So I've cut this dress out in these lovely, lovely bright fabrics that are actually quilting cotton. This particular collection is a new collection called Color Notes by an artist who is amazing. Her name is Victoria Bright. And so I think she will be tickled that we're using her fabrics. Here's my back panel. See all the different colors and pieces. And you could make this dress out of the, how we did the Paris dress. So you could make these out of the Indian block print pieces. Could be really beautiful as well. And then this is another side panel. So in choosing my fabrics, I chose sort of contrasting pieces. I chose, for the sides don't have to be the same fabric, but I did use the soft yellow, which I thought would just soften the whole piece. And then I did the zigzag piece here, I did the polka dot over here, and then what she called circles. This piece is called Balance, and it's a lovely, lovely, dramatic piece. And that's center back. And then I chose to do the side panels. I've got two different ones. Again, I've got which way does this go? There, that's called Network. And then I've got, again, the white polka dot that's come into play. So it's a really summery dress, which I love. And I'm going to Florida in the winter, so it will be a great piece to wear. We're going to do facings for the armholes as well as facing for the necklines because they are different. So this is the perfect way to finish the necklines. The first thing you're going to do is, select your size and cut your pieces out accordingly. You will notice that the front panels are marked, so where you place your neckline. So you'll notice that the neckline goes up on the right side and lower on the left side. So watch for those markings. Our armholes are in the same place. And then we have our side pieces. So I attached my sides on, my front sides, and then I put the side panels on each side. And I haven't done this one, which I'm going to do right now. Then for the back, we do the same thing. So we align up both of our side panels, and then we're going to finish the whole dress, and then we're going to stitch the back to the front. So I finished the dress by sewing all the panels together, and it comes together quite easily. And you can see there's a lot of shape in this dress, and it just hangs really fun. So it's really fun to see it in different fabrics, because then you can see how the layers work. It's great as in a solid, but it's really, really different in the different fabrics. The next phase of this, I mean, once you've sewn it all together, there are pockets in this pattern, so they would go right here, just side pockets, very simple. We also have sleeve facings, so this is what they would look like. You're going to place those right sides together, and you're going to stitch the shoulder seam and the side seam, like I've done on this one. And you're going to do the same for your neck facing, which is, here's my front and my back, very different. And I'm going to place them right sides together and sew them together. Once they're sewn together, you then fit them onto your garment. Finish the outer edges as you will. Here I have folded, so you can roll it over and just stitch it down, or you can zigzag the edge or serge the edge, just so that that raw edge is finished. So this piece will go right sides together, and this is my shoulder piece, so it will go on this side. So I'm matching my shoulder. And there's a lot of detail in these pieces, so a little bit of easing here is helpful. And we continue to pin. And the side seam will actually fall in the center of this side panel. Continue pinning in. And once it's pinned in, we will sew around the armhole, and then you flip the facing onto the inside. I have stitched my facings onto my armholes, and this is a small armhole. Yeah, I made a small version. And the neckline. The neckline, because it's so uniquely shaped, the facing had to be perfect. So you just ease that in, stitch it in, right sides together, and then you're going to turn it inside. If you notice, the corners of the shoulders are quite pointy. It was designed to be that way. They kind of come in pointy here. So there is the RHONDA dress in a cotton, and you can make this dress in linen, and with the panels, it just adds so much flavor to a simple dress. You'll get a lot of compliments out of this dress. And isn't it crazy how unique they both are to each other? Doesn't look like the same dress, does it? Welcome back. We're going to end today's session with a beautiful jacket that I made a long, long time ago, and finally it's making its way into our pattern library. We've called it the Harlow. And it's really lovely. It's got a lovely shape. It's A-line. It's got this insert in the sides. We've got the front panel, side front, the sleeves, the side insert. The back has a back panel, side panels, and the this side insert is attached to both the front and the back, and gives it this like sort of droopy flavor at the sides. Optionally, you can add pieces like right there, and I did add a piece here, which I love. I love adding pieces in. And then the sleeve is interesting because it's cut. You can see a little bit of a bell, and then I actually added this insert here. So we will look at that as well. It's got just like a little stand-up collar and buttons all the way down the front. Techniques used to make this jacket is a lot of, well, you're just paneling the pieces together. So they're slightly curved and piecing curved pieces together, which is relatively simple. The front panel has its self-facing, so you're going to cut 4 pieces of this front panel. I am going to show you an option that I'm working on. There is a back facing, which looks like that, or you can cut a second piece of the center back panel, which I'm doing on my next piece. The sleeves are pretty easy to insert, and then we have an optional welt pocket. And I say optional because a lot of people do not like doing a welt pocket. I believe that's buttonholes and buttons. You could do snaps. You don't have to do anything. And that's it. So let me show you what I'm working on. So in light of what we've been working on, you know, last time we did the Rebel t-shirt or tank, and then we did the hack ruffle pant in a knit for the Phoebe pant. So I decided I love the jacket in the woven cotton, the Harlow jacket in the woven cotton, but I've decided that I wanted a knit version too because I think it'll be soft and comfortable, and I like that. So I'm making it in the same brown medium weight knit that I made the pants, and then just for a little flavor, I'm actually adding a full back lining of with the rust color knit that I used in the Rebel tank. So you can see that it just hangs a little bit lower. I'm not going to hem my knit because I'm just doing a completely different flavor. And also, you know, the Harlow is not hemmed. The front piece is finished nicely, but the rest of it is left raw. But you can hem that, and you can see that. You can follow along in the directions. So the back panel will go onto its side panels, which look like this. And because I'm creating this knit version, I'm actually going to stitch the panels onto the back panel right sides together as usual. I'm not going to do like raw edging all the way through this jacket, but I'm actually going to stitch right through that lining piece as well. So I'm going to add my side pieces on to both sides. And I can add my embellishments on like I did in the cotton version, which is we added a strip, and then you can actually add something that's hanging out of the seam. So I may do maybe some of this color coming out of the back seam. I also just did some fun stitching on the shoulder. I attached the shoulders, and I just did a fun little L-shaped stitch to secure the lining into the back panel. The front panels are similar. This is the side panel, and there's a notch on the side panels because that's where we're going to put that side insert. And then I've got my front panel, which goes here. So you can see it's wider, so it crosses over. My side panel hang there. I have cut my lining pieces in the rust color. So I am going to, instead of stitching them right sides together, which we do over here, I'm going to stitch the lining onto the knit front exterior pieces. So it'll look like that. And you can see I just cut the lining just a little bit larger than the other, just to give it some definition. I'm careful not to cause too much friction in the knit, otherwise it'll start rolling on me, and I hate that when that happens. Okay, so now we have our front panels. Let's go. And then what we'll do is shoulders to shoulders. And then you will stitch the side seams to the notched point. Once you do that, you're going to attach your side inserts, which are these. This is a triangle shape, and you're going to attach those onto the front and the back of your panel. The sleeves are oddly shaped. And they've got, you mark this triangle out on the sleeve. One way I thought would be to cut out that notch and finish that and then put it, but it lies better if you don't do that because you're going to attach something there. I've notched the front side of the sleeve because the back and the front armholes are slightly different on this jacket. It gives you a little bit more room in the back. And then we have our little inserts for our sleeves. And these are optional, but they're simply a triangle, and you're going to stitch them on that marked triangle, and they hang a little lower, so your bell sleeve gets this kind of effect. And then we have a very simple collar that's cut in one piece. And when you do the lining, as in with the cotton version, you will insert this between the lining and the exterior. In this case, we're just going to attach it, because I'm not going to stitch the collar right sides together. I'm going to leave the raw edges. So this will be stitched onto the jacket, one on the front, one on the inside, and then flipped up and top stitched together. Then we will add our buttons and finish our edges just along the bottom, so there is a stitch mark. So I finished the jacket in the knit, and it really is quite lovely. It hangs really beautifully. I did a few little extras where I've got to trim my threads, but I made the sides a little bit longer than usual. I added this strip in the back, which is on the original. I didn't add the piece, I just thought it was nice and clean. You could see the inserts, the side panels. The sleeves fit beautifully. So it's crazy that fabric can play such a different role. It can change the whole look of a jacket, and this is still divine and a little dressy, whereas this is it's actually quite dressy. It's in a knit, and it'll look great with pants or over a dress or anything like that. I'm kind of loving the idea of the matching pants with a ruffle. It's kind of an edgy jacket with a big crazy ruffle on the bottom. And you can wear this buttoned. I haven't decided what buttons or what snaps I'm going to put on here, but you could wear it closed with a pair of pants or one of our lovely skirts that we're making. So I hope you've enjoyed episode 2 of Winterworks, and today we covered a lot of ground, and I will see you next time. Enjoy.